I'm so excited to tell you about the Kroger OptUp app. OptUp is your virtual assistant for healthier shopping. I've been using OptUp with my grocery shopping, and now I'm more mindful as I make food choices for my family at Kroger. What I love the most is how OptUp tracks my household score automatically based off what I'm purchasing at Kroger. OptUp also makes recommendations for healthier alternatives and nutrition facts of the foods we purchase. OptUp is very easy to use. Download it today in the App Store or Google Play. Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is a really exciting edition of the Produce Moms Podcast. We are recording live again at National FFA Convention, and we have an amazing guest with us for this episode. Sitting down today with Mary Snapp. She is the Corporate Vice President and lead of Microsoft Philanthropies. So for everyone that's followed our work here at FFA Convention, you know Microsoft has just really brought this Blue Room concept to life. They have stepped up in a big way here at FFA, and so excited to welcome Mary to the show to learn more about that. So, Mary, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Well, thank you. So, Microsoft Philanthropies is focused on advancing a future for everyone. I read that on your website in preparation for this awesome moment. And, anyone who has an understanding about Microsoft or has grown up with the brand like I have, you're like, yeah, of course. They're focused on advancing the future for everyone and all that they do at Microsoft, so certainly that makes sense for your philanthropy arm. How exactly are you guys doing that here at FFA and in the agriculture industry?
Well, for FFA, let's just start there.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so excited. We've got the Blue Room here, which is the launch of a collaborative effort with Microsoft and FFA to begin to talk about the future of technology in agriculture in a just much more direct way and persistent way in the school system. So after the Blue Room finishes, there'll be a Blue 365 initiative with the curriculum and the content available to all the FF teachers throughout the United States. So it will live on beyond this week.
Yeah, I actually, prior to sitting down with you, I had an opportunity to go through the Blue Room. I was there for an entire session, saw that TED-style talk, and I will say that that Blue 365, it was a crowded area.
Yes.
All the educators were flocking to it to learn more about how they could continue this and have that Blue Room impact on what they do day to day. So
I heard there was some line dancing going on right before the entry into the last session. I missed it. I was on the way here.
Yes. So, for those of our, most of our listeners probably, weren't privileged to walk through the Blue Room like you and I have. The Blue Room experience is, it's just really focused on cutting edge innovations. And from my perspective, things that stuck out were virtual reality, AI, robotics, obviously those educator curriculums, packaging innovations. Obviously a lot more. So Mary, could you please elaborate for our listeners on what the Blue Room has to offer?
Sure. There are lots of great things. So we're talking a lot about artificial intelligence, which, see if I can describe it more. It's a hard thing to describe. But if you think about, do you remember thinking about, I'm going to sound like I'm past generation, but Columbo, the old detective?
Yes.
Who would go into the rooms and he'd figure out what to do. This would be like, artificial intelligence is like using a scientist only with data as opposed to a scientist or a forensic, scientist to figure out clues to things. Yeah. So artificial intelligence, lots of examples of how artificial intelligence can be used to give us answers to questions that we couldn't have done by ourselves because there's just so much data.
Right.
So it helps us to figure out answers using data that we wouldn't have been able to know before, like how much moisture might be needed in the ground, maybe even sometimes to predict famine or food insecurity in different parts of the world. So we'll use other things like drones to help us identify whether there's maybe plant infestation, because a drone can help identify how much heat is on the top of leaves, which is an indication that there might be pests under there.
Right.
So using artificial intelligence and what we call the edge things, the tiny little devices that are on the ground to send data up into the cloud, which is really just a bunch of computers, to send data in to help us understand better how to make our farms both more productive and, frankly, sustainable and regenerative. So those are like hard things to do all at once, and that's what we're hoping technology can help us do.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will tell you what, I'm a believer. After walking through that blue room, I'm like, here we go. The future of farming, it's here. No, it's really exciting. So, I mean, why are you personally so passionate about it? Your passion's, just bleeding through right now. But tell me a little bit more about, your history, why you're so passionate about the work you do, specifically with this Blue Room initiative.
With the Blue Room. Well, I grew up grew up in Indiana. I grew up in southern Kansas. And I did not grow up on a farm, but it was a small farming community. My dad actually was a county extension agent at Kansas State University. And he happened to walk in the door one day for the dean of the School of Agriculture and met my mother. Who was the secretary to the dean. So my dad was an agriculture major, and we had a huge backyard garden that we all were involved in for most of our years growing up. And I still have recipes from my grandmother and my mother from the vegetables and the things that we grew in that garden. So I've always known about FFA. And it's just really exciting to be able to bring the technology that I've worked in for the last 30 years at Microsoft kind of full circle back, to this beginning.
Wow,
it's really
30
fun.
years at Microsoft.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
It is kind of crazy.
So how'd you start at Microsoft?
I started as a lawyer. I went to law school and moved from Michigan, actually, back or to Seattle for the first time, and worked in a law firm for a while, and then got excited about Microsoft. I was the first female attorney that the company hired back in those days. We were our department was about 10 people, and now we're about 1,000 people. Oh. So it's been fun to see it over all that time.
First female attorney at Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There were a lot of guys back then. Not that many women.
Hey, you know what? And I will say the tide is turning in agriculture too.
I know.
Looking around at FFA, looking at the leadership, the ratio of male to female participants is, we're really, I think we're right at 50-50, which is fantastic.
I looked at their annual report. Lots of great stuff in there. They're 46% women. And the national leader this year is an African-American young woman.
Oh, yeah.
They were getting ready to celebrate the 50th year anniversary of admitting girls to become members. That'll be in 2019. So super exciting for them too.
So exciting. Yeah, it's amazing what I've learned about I've always thought, I know a lot about FFA. I worked in agriculture for 15 years. I had no idea how much I didn't know about FFA until I came to this event.
I know.
This convention is unbelievable. And, obviously the power and the work that, you and your team at Microsoft have brought, it's unbelievable. So, let's talk for a minute, because I'm guessing most of our listeners are not quite as versed as you and I are on how technology is, in fact, a very large part of, agriculture. But, could you shed some light on how important agriculture is to Microsoft?
Yeah. Well, as we think about what the future of work is for lots of different careers, and we think that among the 3 or 4 biggest areas, advanced manufacturing being one, healthcare, information technology. And the fourth, in terms of how careers are going to change, is going to be agriculture. And the advances that people are making in what's called either smart agriculture, although agriculture's been pretty smart in using technology all along.
Right.
Precision agriculture might be a better way.
Right.
There are 250 different agricultural careers. All of them are going to be impacted by technology. So as we think about how we can help to get people talking about how work is going to change and careers are going to change, agriculture is one of the major sectors where we're going to see a lot of change.
Oh, absolutely. You're already seeing it. And my goodness, walking through that blue room that you guys put together, that experience, every student that's walked through that, those changes have just been brought to life. And they're, this understanding of what the future of farming holds is much more vivid for everyone. I know for sure.
I brought my nephew from Harvey County, Kansas.
Nice.
Yes.
Good.
And he is going through the exhibits now. He's very interested in learning about regenerative farming and what he's going to find out by the exhibits and how he can use technology. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yes, please do. I can tell you right now how it's going to go. He's going to love it.
I hope so.
So we talked a little bit about how there's those ongoing resources for the educators. So what about folks that are, our listeners, who want to maybe experience or learn more about the Blue Room here at FFA Convention? Will there be a place online, or have you guys thought about any sort pop-up events where folks can experience this?
Yeah, I think FFA has lots of plans to put information out, and the pop-up event is a great idea, to tell you the truth.
Invite me if you decide to do it,
No,
okay?
That's really a good idea. We have been thinking about other ways in which we can get more connected to rural communities, whether it's with FFA. I know this is about FFA, but we're also partnering with the National 4-H, and I sit on that board, so I'm learning a lot about 4-H as well as FFA.
That's great.
And we're doing some work to try to bring high-speed broadband in rural areas as well.
So
we've
important.
got, oh my gosh. I know, I noticed actually even just coming from the airport, there was just a little bit of a dead space, somewhere along the way.
Yeah, so you really shouldn't have.
We should not have.
Considering this is...
But 19.4 million Americans in rural America do not have broadband. They just don't have it. So we want to raise a lot of awareness on that topic as well.
Awesome.
You can't farm without broadband these days. I mean,
no, you cannot.
Not with any sort of scale.
Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right. So, thank you for all of your insights on what Microsoft is doing with FFA and the Blue Room and agriculture as a whole. After spending some time on the Microsoft Philanthropies website, I was really, my heart was just warmed by how many different industries you all are involved with. So if you don't mind, let's share a little bit more about the other industries that are benefiting from partnerships with Microsoft Philanthropies.
Sure. We do lots and lots of work in the education space, and particularly focused on computer science, because we think that computer science is a way to learn a method of reasoning that will enable kids to be adaptable to any 21st century job. So it's not like everybody needs to be a computer scientist, but just that kind of logical thinking. So we've invested a lot in the education space on a worldwide basis over the last 20 or so years with our work, and excited to see more and more states get interested in putting computer science in high schools. We think every high school in the nation should have a computer science class.
Love that.
We also have done more and more work in the humanitarian space on a worldwide basis, starting with disaster relief, with natural disasters, but now also extending to what we call people on the move, people who are not where they live. And about 50% of those people who are on the move are as a result of famine and food conflict. Wow. So we've done a lot of work with United Nations organizations in terms of helping them get their technology up to date. And in addition, then we provide technology to all kinds of nonprofits across the board. So a lot in the healthcare area as well. Give them a little bit of free information, free publicity, an organization called Team Rubicon, which is made up of former military service members who come together to provide disaster relief in the United States and other places after a natural disaster. They're using our technology. Wow. We're volunteering to go out with them when disaster strikes. So any kind of nonprofit really has the benefit of our technology. And then the last thing I should say is that our Microsoft employees have been amazingly generous. Last year, we raised with our employees $60 million for 19,000 nonprofits, mostly in the United States. So excited about the generosity of our employees, too.
I will say the men and women I've met here at FFA from Microsoft, they're just nice. That's the best way to describe it. It's just nice, good people.
They have chosen to be here. A couple of them have been working with me on the partnership for 6 or 8 months. So they are so excited to see it actually here.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, this has been a real joy. I want to, obviously thank Mary for being part of the show today and taking some time out to educate all of our listeners at the Produce Moms about, all the incredible work that Microsoft is doing through their philanthropies, through their partnership with FFA and this amazing innovation in the Blue Room. So.
Thank you so much. And we'll share some recipes before we finish.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay. So, when Mary her first question when she saw me was, so what are you eating nowadays? And I'm like, And I said, well,
no, because I do seasonal.
We talked about seasonality. Yeah. And so I said, well, you know what? I just kind of eat whatever I want. I eat a ton of fruits and vegetables, but I believe that with the advancements in logistics, I'm sure Microsoft has their hands in that, by the way. They have
probably with our customers. Our customers
more than likely,
do some.
Yeah. But with the advancements we have in logistics and the food supply chain, really, your fruits and vegetables are in season somewhere 365 days a year. But certainly when the weather starts changing here in Indiana, I start doing things just like what everyone else does when the weather gets cold. You want your soups and your stews and your fresh baked breads and, the stuff that we were sharing. But, Mary was telling me about an apple cake that she had made.
I made last week.
Yeah. So tell them about that.
Oh, the apple cake.
Yes.
Well, this one, I've got about 5 different recipes for apple cakes, and they have various kinds of things in them. But the one I really like to talk about is Grandma Glotzbach's oatmeal cake, which my grandmother made when I was a little kid. And I lost the recipe for 40 years. Then I started to make it again. And now all my neighbors want me to bring it to potlucks.
Aww.
It's like I'm sending the recipe to people in New York now.
That's my favorite thing about working in the food industry and having the amazing opportunities we have every day at the Produce Moms is celebrating life with food. Yep. It really is. The culture of food is amazing. And the way we all have, stories about what our grandmothers made. We've reinvented these recipes or resurrected them. And, now we can, you think about it, it's how you celebrate everything. Yeah. Life's highs and lows is, so many of us, we do that by sharing food or preparing a family recipe for a loved one. So I love that you wanted to talk about it because I could talk about that for hours.
I know. What are you do you do the very same thing for Thanksgiving every year or do you change it up?
Well, my family always leans on me, of course, for a couple of key dishes. The green veg is always on me, as well as the salad.
Right.
And then
me too.
Yeah. And then my mom, she's got her traditional items that she makes. My aunts bring their, the same dishes. Like my Aunt Jean makes the best sweet potatoes of everyone in the family. So we're not messing with that. The sweet potatoes will always be associated with Aunt Jean. But and lately I've been following it. I love Brussels sprouts.
Me too.
So, yeah.
I just saw a recipe for one with pomegranates yesterday.
Pomegranate arrows on top or?
On the top, drizzled on the top with a little raspberry dressing that maybe you could you wouldn't have to make yourself. So roasted and then a little pomegranates and walnuts.
Oh yeah. Walnuts are so good for you too.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, delicious. Okay. I'm going to... any of my family members listening, Brussels sprouts this year will be Mary's recipe right here.
Okay, good.
No, I think.
That's good because no one is going to eat my massage kale salad that I take to Kansas. No one.
Really?
No. Well, my siblings do, who are a little older, but none of the young ones do.
Have you ever done a Caesar salad with kale?
No.
That's where you do. That's right there. Yeah. That's where it turns to gold and people will actually eat it.
Okay, that's Parmesan instead of the Gorgonzola. So that's
try the try the Caesar with your massage kale and see what happens. So
I'll do it.
Oh, this has been too much fun. All right, so in the show notes, you guys will get links to all the different amazing organizations that we've talked about here, the work that Microsoft is doing through their philanthropies, and if I can get Mary to share a recipe, we'll include one of her recipes in the show notes too.
Maybe grandma's.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.